Hello and welcome to the channel, welcome back to the channel. I have been gone away for a very long time. But what I'm doing for you today, as it is October 1st, we're going to be doing a little October watch. I've chosen films from some different categories and genres of horror to watch every day of this month. Obviously, you could play along at home, do your own lists, let me know in the comments. But anyway, let's get right to it. So yeah, like I say, big fan of October, and so we're going to hit it very strong at the start of October. October 1st, which is actually today for myself, and hopefully today for you guys as well. So I'm going to try and release this as and when I've recorded it. So we are starting off with a movie that gets you in the Halloween spirit. That movie that makes you feel like it's Halloween, feel like you're gonna, absolutely go out swinging with horror and scares and things like that. And while I had a few films on this list that could easily go in this spot, ones including Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, those kind of films. However, I went with Trick or Treat. Absolutely love this movie. I always remember it being one of those ones that catches you in quite early on. It's sort of like an anthology story, but I love it nonetheless. And so that's what I'm going with October 1st. But you can go with whatever movie gets you in the spirit of Halloween. So next up, day 2, October 2nd, and it's favourite slasher movies. Now, this one was so hard to choose, and there's a reason why I haven't chosen the obvious one, which we'll get to later. But the one I'm choosing features the guy behind me. Yeah, I'm going with Scream. It's an absolute classic slasher horror movie. It's meta. It's just brilliant. The twists, the turns, everything. Like, the original movie will always be the best in that franchise. It's a decent franchise and could easily watch all of them in one day. But I'm sticking with just the original. That whole thing with the poster and Drew Barrymore and like she's going to be the big star of the film, to then, spoiler warning by the way, to then kill her off in the first scene is just shockbuster, It absolutely brings you in, and I love it. It's a brilliant film, and like I said, the twist and the fact that it's probably the one few horror films where they actually change things up every film in the whole franchise. But yeah, Scream is my October 2nd film, the movie that slashes. Yeah. The big slasher movie. So moving on now to day 3, October 3rd, and we have favourite psychological horror movie. Now, I say favourite, they're not necessarily my favourites in that genre of thing. Like, Scream isn't technically my favourite slasher horror movie, but like I say, there's a reason why I put that there. But for October 3rd, and psychological movie, I'm going with The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense, this is one of M. Night's best films. Bruce Willis smashes it at the park. The twist is crazy. And I remember watching it for the first time and thinking, what the hell? I absolutely love this film. And it's one that I can't wait. They're actually currently bringing out the 4K release. I believe it's in November, December. So I will definitely be jumping on that as soon as I can. But yeah, it's an absolutely amazing film. And yeah, that's going to be my October 3rd psychological horror. And the kid in it, by the way, kid actors, you can sometimes, you never work with kids, you never work with dogs, you never work with animals, that kind of thing. But that kid actor actually really does really well. And it's kind of creepy, But yeah, it absolutely works for me. Sixth Sense, psychological horror, October 3rd. So moving on now to day 4, October the 4th. And we are hitting favourite sci-fi horror movie. And oh my god, there was so many choices to choose from. But I have gone a little bit overly obvious here. I've gone with Alien. An absolute classic, It is the best kind of sci-fi horror movie with aliens and suspense and tension. It's a slow burn. It's very much a slow burn, and sometimes I understand why people would rather watch, say, like Aliens, which is more action orientated. But this original one is pure horror, and it's purely the best. I absolutely love Alien, and I watch it every year outside of the October season and within the October season. I probably watch it multiple times in a year, and it's so worth it. And it's definitely one that's got to go in that sci-fi horror movie spot. Moving on now to day 5, and it is October 5th, of course, and it is the favourite giallo or crime horror movie. This one was tough to choose. I've just recently got into that giallo kind of horror movie type scope, so to choose just one was very difficult, but I went with one that I haven't actually watched yet. I've actually given myself a little bit of a challenge to actually watch for the first time, and that is Torso. It is what it is. I don't know anything about it, so I am going in completely blind. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The plan is to actually watch each and every one of these films on that day. So tonight I will be watching Trick or Treat. Tomorrow I will be watching Scream, and so on and so forth. And day 5, I will be watching Torso for the very first time. So you might see a movie review of that on my channel. Depends how I feel on it, Depends if I've got some thoughts on it. But yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to watching this because it's something that's been on my radar for a while. But like I say, I do not know much about. So yeah, I figured why not change it up, and rather than putting something on the list that I've watched before, put something there that I haven't watched before. So there we go. That's your number 5, your 5th of October, is Torso. Okay, so now we have reached day 6, almost at the end of the week for October's, like the first week of October, and we're going into the body horror realm. And there was only really one option for me in this. Now, I know there's a new movie out with Demi Moore. I hope I've got that name right. And Dennis Quaid. That I do really want to see. I've forgotten the name of it. I'll put it down here. But yeah, I really want to see that. But for me, I have to go with a classic. And it's Cronenberg's The Fly. Oh, this is such an amazing movie. I absolutely love The Fly. With Jeff Goldblum. It is an absolute brilliant film. It's creepy. It's grotesque. It's downright nasty in the right kind of way. And it's creepy as fuck. And I fucking love it. And it definitely deserves to be in there on the month of October. So yeah, body horror, The Fly. What more can you say about it? So here we are now, we've reached day 7, it's the end of the week. You want something to watch that is going to be quite a wide-eyed opener. Yeah, with day 7 we are going with a favourite opening scene from a movie. And for me, one of the ones it's got to be Fede Alvarez's Evil Dead. The start of that movie so gets you going with it, the gore, and the fucked upness of it, and just the general feeling of this film is creepy. It's gross. I absolutely love it. You know, what they did with this Evil Dead film is definitely take it in a more serious tone and a darker tone than what the originals were. I consider most of the originals to be comedies, especially 2 and 3. Like, it's very jarring to go from 1 to 2, as it's basically the same story, just reworked. But it's such an amazing film. And what Fede Alvarez did with it is honestly so impressive. What he recently did with Alien Romulus as well was very decent, and it was a very good film, but was a bit too nostalgic. Evil Dead did its own thing while still keeping a lot of like the, you know, original sort of storyline and the original plot points, but they did their own thing with it, and I fucking love it. Yeah, Evil Dead, Alvarez, Day 7 for the best opening scene. So now we move on to Day 8, and you know what? You want something that softens things up from Evil Dead a little bit, so you go down the horror comedy route. And oh boy, like there is a lot of options for horror comedy. You know, you got your Zombieland kind of thing, but for me, there is only one horror comedy that I will return to continuously, watch over and over again, because I absolutely love it, and it is of course Shaun of the Dead. I love Shaun of the Dead. The Shaun of the Dead film is amazing, and it kind of makes bittersweet kind of sense to put it on my 31 Days of Halloween, as well, you know, it's the 20th anniversary this year. It's going back into cinema. I do plan to see it in the cinema. I never got round to seeing it in the cinema the first time round because 20 years ago, I would have been, God knows what, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. So 11 to 12 years old, depending on when it was released. But yeah, like, it is a wonderful film. And for me to keep going back to it just shows just how good it is. I'm really looking forward to watching it in the cinema. But 20th anniversary of Shaun of the Dead, of course it's going in the favourite comedic horror-y. Horror-y? I suppose it is a horror-y, isn't it? Or a Comoro. Comora? Yeah, horror-y. Didn't even mean to say that then. But yeah, kind of works. Anyway, Day 8, Shaun of the Dead, best horror comedy ever. Day 9, October 9th, and what are we hitting this time? We are hitting a favourite horror movie, Home Invasion. Those words got mixed up. A horror movie that is a home invasion. And there are a few out there, you know, you got your Strangers, you got the shitty Strangers from this year. No, those ones aren't my favourite. You know, I like the first Strangers movie, but with Liv Tyler is it, but he doesn't wow me all that much. The film that kind of wows me that much is Ush. Ush is one that really does, you know, like creep you out in the right ways, and the storyline, like I say, I'm not going to try and spoil too much, but you know, she is death, so it makes it a lot harder for her to, you know, navigate these kind of things. You can't hear the guy coming at you, or the girl coming at you, depends on what horror film you're watching. You can't hear what is around you, and that gives off such a horror creep fest that honestly it creeps you out. And that's what I think a home invasion movie should do. A home invasion movie should not be something too gory, or, you know, something that's trying to say that it's got to be the suspense and the tension of it. I could have easily have gone with You're Next on this. That may pop up later on, but I could have easily have gone with You're Next, and I decided not to, because I think Ush does something that really does bring out that sort of tension that you need within a home invasion movie. It's like I say, it's no good doing a home invasion movie and having it be about aliens or gore or what have you. There was a recent one this year, I believe, came out that was like a very similar thing but with the alien, and it was good, but the ending was a little bit cuckoo and it just fell flat. Hush is a great movie, and you know, hats off to them for making what is, I believe, the best home invasion movie out there. And next up, okay, so it's day 10, it's October 10th, and it is time for a gothic romance horror movie. This one was interesting because I had to do some research here because I couldn't really think off the top of my head about any gothic horror based movies, especially romance ones. And you know, you could have gone with something a little bit like Interview with a Vampire, I believe, would sort of fit into that. But I went with Sleepy Hollow. I feel like that fits the gothic sort of feel to it, and also that sort of romantic side of it as well. You know, I haven't watched Sleepy Hollow all that much, so I'm looking forward to revisit it, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why I put it on my list as one of my movies. So yeah, that is October 10th. That's all I'm going to say about it because I can't really remember a lot of it. But yeah, October 10th, favourite gothic romance horror movie, Sleepy Hollow. So we're coming up now, it's day 11, it's October 11th, you know, we're getting into the month now, and it was a creature feature film that we are going for next. It is a creature feature film we're going next. And there are so many out there that I could have chosen. There are so many obscure ones, like The Feast, but I went with one that's probably a little bit more obvious, but you might not think straight away, like creature feature. But for me, I think they are technically creatures. They're aliens, but they're technically creatures. I've gone with The Thing, the original John Carpenter. Well, I say the original, but the John Carpenter Thing movie. That ending, downright, just, you know, it gives you something to think about by the time the film's over. You're thinking, is he one? Isn't he one? You know, I think the question is kind of answered in what they're doing in the scene, but that is all I'll say. That I love the attention to detail with the sequel that they did, which was actually a prequel. They took a lot of what they saw in that new one, that John Carpenter one, and did something new with it, and brought it full circle. I think when I watch The Thing now with John Carpenter, I have to watch the other one first, and then I watch the original, just to get the full scope and the full kind of story of what happened out there in that icy area that they are basically living in. But yeah, The Thing is an absolute creepy creature feature film. It might not be downright creature feature, but it works for me and I absolutely love it, and that is why it's going in on October 11th. So coming in at number 12, we're getting through this now, aren't we? We are railing through it, and it's a favourite zombie horror movie. Now this was difficult because there are so many to choose from. There are so many that you could pick that are great, shit, fun to watch, mad, crazy, stupid love. Oh my god, there is so many that I could have chosen. But I went with one in particular. I went with one that I think, you know, it changed things for me in the zombie genre. I mean, at the time of when it came out, I was about 20. I would have to double check that. I'll put it down here what year it came out and how old it actually was. So I'm probably way off on that. It's not 10 years old, it's older than that. But anyway, Dawn of the Dead remake. I absolutely love this horror movie. I love this zombie movie. for me, it's probably up there with one of the best zombie movies. Yes, could have gone with Night of the Living Dead. I absolutely love Night of the Living Dead. I reached that was a this year rewatch for me because I've only ever watched it one other time before that. It is an absolutely brilliant film, but I think I just had to go with Dawn of the Dead. Like, I've loved a lot of the Dead movies, to be honest. You know, even the crappy ones are something there to enjoy. Diary of the Dead, you know, it's one that you could leave or take it. But Dawn of the Dead for me, this one with Ving Rhames, and you know, you got the guy in there that's not really an actor, and you can tell. But I love this movie, and there is no way on earth I would put anything else in the zombie section, to be honest. So yeah, Dawn of the Dead. Okay, now we're at day 13, October 13th. Unfortunately, it's not a Friday this year. I don't know when it is. We are going to have two Friday the 13th in the year, but that was last month, and one in December, I believe. But you know, day 13, it's an unlucky one. It's one that, you know, you think about as being creepy because the unlucky number 13. But do you think of a favourite ending on October 13th? Well, I certainly do. For me, one of my favourite, is it a favourite? Maybe not. But it's an ending that I do enjoy. And it's an ending that I think, you know, it's obvious the way it should end. Drag me to hell. She's literally dragged to hell at the end. That's a spoiler, folks. I'm sorry, but I don't care. You should have watched it by now. But yeah, Drag Me to Hell it's a silly film. It's not serious in any way, shape, or form. But I absolutely love it. I love the fact that in the end she actually doesn't win. The button gets her. It's always been funny watching this film because my dad has a fear of buttons. So when we first watched it, we were like, "Is this just you, Dad? Because you have a fear of buttons, and this button's trying to kill this woman." You know, it's cursed. But yeah, I absolutely love the ending to Drag Me to Hell. I think it's hilarious that she tries to. She's thinking, who does she give this button to? Who can she give the button to? And then she ends up technically. See, there is a technicality because she doesn't technically own the button in the end. Technically, her boyfriend does. But then, I suppose it's because she hasn't actually gifted it to them because they don't know they've got the button. But yeah, it's just a mad film. It's a disgusting film at times, especially with the old woman. But anyway, yeah, Drag Me to Hell. Such a great film. And yeah, it's got a great ending. So yeah, October 13th, Drag Me to Hell. Okay, so October 14th, and we're going to hit some decades in the next few one now. And we've got a favourite horror film from the 1970s. And oh boy, obviously I wasn't around for what is going to be majority or a few of these categories now. So it was harder to pick what film I wanted to choose. But a 70s classic that you have to always go for is The Exorcist. I've just recently, I mean, like yesterday, I believe it was yesterday as well, brought the 4K edition of The Exorcist, and I am so looking forward to rewatching it in 4K. I've heard some good things and some bad things about the 4K. I'll make my own mind up on that. You won't see that. But yeah, this is an absolutely brilliant movie. You know, it's probably the best of that genre of like sort of exorcisty films that you're gonna get. Because they always come out with them every year. There's always a new one, and it's always the same shit. You know, someone gets possessed. So I mean, this year we've had some really nice and good ones. Like I say, nice. They're not nice really, but they're good ones. We've had some really good ones with The First Omen, Immaculate. I really enjoyed Immaculate, but they're very similar in story. You know, about a nun or a new nun, and she gets pregnant, and the baby is the devil's and Antichrist and all this and that. It's very similar storylines, but at least we're getting something now that's quite interesting. And I think the ending of the first Omen as well really made me think about, oh, well, now I've got to watch the original Omen. Because knowing that there's another kid out there that's going to be like Damien, and the possibilities are endless with it. But I don't know if they want to push it to the point at which it gets a little bit comedic and we have two adults. One's the Antichrist and one's the, like the Omen. Do we really want that? Do we really want a versus film of these two characters? We don't want to get it to the cheesy point of Freddy versus Jason. But, that surprised me this year. So, we are sort of getting into that realm of things, but The Exorcist for me is still the best of those kind of movies. There was no doubt that the 70s movie was going to be The Exorcist, to be honest. I mean, there was a few in there. But, like I say, I've cheated with what is essentially the last one, which is a little bit of a spoiler. But yeah, anyway, moving on now to day 15, and day 15 is an interesting one because it's the 80s. It's a era of horror movies that I love, but there is one particular one that I love more. There was no doubt in my mind I was putting this in here somewhere. And that is An American Werewolf in London. Such an amazing werewolf movie. It is still to this day my favourite werewolf movie. Dog Soldiers comes very close. And The Howling is very good as well. Even The Howling 2 has something going for it. But for me, it has to be An American Werewolf in London. It is a great 80s movie. I believe we're just hitting the sort of genre, like the era of the 80s. I believe it came out in 1880. Or was it 88? It was 1880. It was either 80 or 88. Or I can't remember the year. I'm terrible with years. I'll put it down here. For all these ones, I'll put the exact years that they came out. But An American Werewolf in London is such an amazing movie, and the practical effect of him turning into a werewolf still to this day makes me cringe. In a good way, in a sense of like, oh my god, how are they doing? Oh my god, I can't watch, but I want to watch it kind of thing. And I can't take my eyes off it. So yeah, it is an absolutely brilliant film. And it's definitely one deserving of being the favourite 80s horror movie. Okay, so now we're at the favourite 90s horror movie with Day 16. And oh boy, there was some choices in this one. There was some I could have gone in any direction for this next one, but I think I had to just go for it with Child's Play 2. Child's Play 2 is an absolutely amazing film. I love Chucky. I love the Chucky films. Child's Play 2 is one that's absolutely brilliant. Will not be beaten in the Chucky universe. Like, there will not be a film in the Chucky universe that's going to, elevate things to that height, Bride of Chucky got close with it, and don't get me wrong, Seed of Chucky is a mess, but there's still some enjoyment there. It's one of those franchises I think is actually kept the sort of stamina. Seed of Chucky brought it down a little bit, and then I think the Cult and Curse brought it back up, because I love Cult and Curse of Chucky. I'm one of those ones. I think it's Curse then Cult, isn't it? But I absolutely love those Chucky movies. But Child's Play 2 is still my all-time favourite. I think the characters, the way the film just denotes everything that we've known before, and Chucky comes back better, stronger, crazier than ever, and it's pre-funny Chucky as well. He's still serious. He's got some quirky one-liners in here, but he's not going full out Chucky masturbating to a magazine kind of sense like he did in Seed of Chucky. We don't need to see Chucky getting one off, jerking one off. You know, we don't need to see it. But yeah, Child's Play 2, I love the factory scene at the end as well. That's such an amazing ending as well. That could have easily have gone on to day 13, the favourite ending, but instead I decided to go and put it on day 16, the 90s. So yeah, absolutely love it. Okay, so moving on now to day 17, October 17th. And we're moving on to the 2000s. I'm not going to say it the way that people mostly say it because I struggle with it. The noughties? I think I just got it right for once. Anyway, the 2000s horror movie. Now, this was a toughie because there's so many horror movies in the 2000s I could have gone with. I've gone with one that might be a little bit controversial, but we're not going to talk about the real people and, you know, the motivations behind it and who it was that, you know, produced and directed the movie. We're just talking about the movie in general, and I still love this movie to this day and wish they'd done better with the sequels. Number 2 of it is pretty decent. But we are talking about Jeepers Creepers. I absolutely love the Jeepers Creepers movie. And the second one, to be fair. I could easily pull these two together. There is not a time when I don't watch Jeepers Creepers 2 after I've watched Jeepers Creepers. I just have to watch them both consecutively. The other two can go and shit themselves, you know, for all I'm at. I don't care. The other two are fucking shite. Reborn and... what was it, just Jeepers Creepers 3, was it? Did it have a title, or was Reborn the title for Jeepers Creepers 3? I don't know. Both of them are shit. That one with the carnival and all that, what the fuck were they thinking with that one? But, you know, 1 and 2 are the definitive films in this series, and they're the ones that you touch. Not touch, but you know what I mean. They're the ones you watch. Jeepers Creepers for me is one of those ones. It's creepy, it's suspenseful at times. Jeepers Creepers for me is one of those ones, you know, you got a creature feature sort of thing, but with some lore behind it, and I absolutely love it. I love Jeepers Creepers. Like, why are we not getting really good films out of the Jeepers Creepers franchise? It's needed. Please, please make good Jeepers Creepers movies. So yeah, that's my 2000s selection. Okay, so now we are on day 18, October 18th, and it could go any direction from this point on. But we've got the last of the sort of decade-y sort of horror movies with the 2010s. And oh boy, did I pick a good one for the 2010s. I've mentioned it already in this video, because I said I would bring it back later on, and oh boy did I. You're Next is an absolutely brilliant movie. I've just brought that big 4K box set. I am looking forward to watching that again in the juicy 4K. Oh my god, it's such an amazing movie. Like, what else can I say about it? You know, you got the suspense, you've got the horror, you got the home invasion, you got the family of twats that... why would you want to even try to marry into this? You know? This is an absolutely brilliant movie. Like, you know, Ready or Not is very close to it and could have easily have ended up in the same slot. I believe that was 2010s as well. But for me, You're Next is an absolutely brilliant film. I believe it was 2013 it came out, so now it's coming up to... It's 11 years now, if I've got that right. I believe I have. But yeah, I absolutely love this movie. Why aren't we talking about this movie more? Yeah, we've got the 4K box set now. I am so pleased with it, and I can't wait to rewatch it on October 18th. You're Next. Well, actually, you're not next, but the 19th movie, October 19th, is a favourite final girl, and there is so many to choose from. You could have easily gone with Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween and the original Halloween, not any of the other ones that, you know, while I like what they do with her, too much. You know, you could have gone with some of the final girls from Friday the 13th, which are very obvious. You could have gone with Ripley there are a mammoth of like final girls that you could have chosen here. I particularly went with Nancy Thompson from A Nightmare on Elm Street. I think that she's one of those ones that she's very weak. Like, if you really watch that first film, she's not one that stands out all that much. At least not in the start of the film, and then as the film sort of goes on, you realise that the strong character is coming through. But I like that when they sort of take you on this sort of journey of thinking, who is the main person here? Who's the person who's the hero? Or the final girl or slash guy, in some cases. Or in most cases, it's a guy. But for me, like, they do that in Alien. Alien is probably the biggest one where they take a final girl and she's not, she's there, but she's not at the forefront until later on in the movie. And it kind of surprises you and takes you back a little bit, whereas like the new Alien Romulus made it so obvious that she was going to be the main character. But it's just like that. I like when they do that. They sort of make you think, who is it that I'm meant to be following right at the end? Now, of course they don't technically do that with this one. It's not that blatantly, like obvious, but at the same time it is. It's just that, as the story goes on, you build up more rapport with Nancy than anybody else, and by the end of it, she is the final girl anyway, so it's one of them ones. But yeah, absolutely brilliant film. Nightmare on Elm Street. I really do love the franchise of Nightmare on Elm Street. They just took some swings that didn't work for me and don't work for the franchise in general. So yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. Now day 20, and I really want to get this one out of the way. It's a horror movie that I hate. Not that I hate, but I hate. Like, hate's a strong word. Do I really hate any horror movies? No. There's always something good to be had out of these horror movies. But for me, it was a tough choice. It really was. But if there was one that I had to choose, I chose one that was more recent, simply because I can't think. I could have easily gone down the Alien 3 route. Alien 3 is one of those ones I question all the time on why they did what they did, why the production was so crazy, what film have we fucking got in front of us. But I don't hate it. There are still a lot of parts of it that I really love. Well, I wouldn't go as far as to love, but I wouldn't go as far as to hate. However, I decided to choose a film that came out this year that I was really excited for, and it disappointed me massively. Okay, do I say really excited for? Technically, no. But I was intrigued in it. It is Night Swim. It's a god-awful movie. Did I even really watch it? I don't think I did. I think I was reorganising my Blu-rays when I had it on. So, I initially put it on to watch it. I sat there to watch it. Started watching it. Got really bored with it. Got up and decided to rearrange my horror movies behind me. And that is it. Literally, it's so disappointing. Yes, technically I didn't give it a proper go. But what the hell were they doing? And it's the closest thing to hate that I've got for a horror movie, so go fuck yourself, Night Swim. Terrible. Blumhouse, what are you doing? Give me something good. Give me something good. Imaginary, I kind of enjoyed. Not gonna lie. But it's not perfect. But yeah, Night Swim, I'm not talking about it anymore. Moving on. So, coming in at number 21. Day 21, October the 21st. We are 10 days from the big day. And it's a sequel better than the original. And this was so hard to choose, but again, at the same time, it was so easy to choose. I went with Friday the 13th, Part 4. Now, I have a little bit of a disdain for the first original Friday the 13th movie. Not that I dislike it or hate it in any regard, but there is just something lacking in that original film. And the idea that it's this little woman, this little old woman that's killing everybody, and it's made out to be, you know, like some of the camera angles don't quite work, and the fact that the characters are just like, when they see her, it's like, oh, it's you. What are you doing here? Like, what? Who talks like that? You know, I have my issues with Friday the 13th. But Friday the 13th Part 4 did something more. It gave us characters to love, and it did something, like, you know, for me, it is still probably the best in the franchise. I'm probably going against one of my old videos that I may redo in a different kind of way in the near future, especially this month. But for me, Friday the 13th Part 4 has good characters, it has a good story, and, you know, while there are some, like, technical issues in the background of sort of, like, certain story points that don't make sense, but for me, Friday the 13th Part 4 does the best of that franchise. And it still is the best of the franchise, probably, to be honest. I do have a sort of guilty pleasure with Part 3, a little bit. But for me, Part 4 is still probably the better film and the better storyline overall. And I absolutely love it. Ryan from the editing room here. So I made a big boo-boo and skipped today like an idiot. It was a remake that's better than the original, and I went with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a great film. I never really found love with the original, so I went with Texas Chainsaw Massacre for that. Apologies for that. But anyway, back to the regularly scheduled video. So coming in on day 23 is the most overrated horror movie. Now, these two next films very much are the other way around in the realm of what people think is overrated and underrated. Spoiler for day 24, by the way. But October 23rd, for me, the most overrated film is Hereditary. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy Hereditary. In fact, at times I can love it. But it's a love-hate relationship for me. It took me the second go to really enjoy it. But for me, I think it's overloved and overrated. And I don't know, there's just something about it that just misses the spot. Don't get me wrong, I think it's one of those films, like I say, it didn't grab me in the first time round. However, the shock value was there the first time round. And I think it works better on first time watch than it does on a repeat. And for me, that does denote it down a little bit. Like, if you can't enjoy it the second time round as much as you enjoyed it the first time round, there's something wrong. And for me, while I don't hate the film, it is definitely something that I think is overrated. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. But Hereditary is number 23. I am not wrong in this because it is just my opinion. So yeah, bite my heads off in the comments all you like, but please do be polite. It is, like I say, it's just my opinion. I appreciate and understand why people love this movie, but for me it's not that yet. It could change over time. Like, I could, next time I rewatch it and realise how stupid I was putting this in the overrated section, you know? But anyway, moving on to day 24, October 24th. And it is the most underappreciated horror movie. We're going to go with the underrated more than anything else. But for me, it is Midsommar. Midsommar is, and I'm saying that completely wrong because technically it's Midsommar. But, you know, for me, that is better than Hereditary. And yet, Hereditary gets more love than Midsommar. But I really enjoy it, you know, the vision behind it, you know. It's just something that the shock value is there every time, you know. I left it quite a long time between the first time I watched it and the next time I watched it, because I got my dad to watch it. And even then I was still like, what the hell am I watching? In a good way. in the best way possible. And watching my dad's reaction as well was really hilarious because he's not really into that sort of tone of a movie. So it was quite interesting to see him watching it and seeing his reaction. I love it, and I'm not going to talk about it more because, again, like I say, the comments will bereave me about it for those that are watching this video and just completely disagree with me. So moving on, and day 25, and we've got the first horror movie you remember watching. And this is an interesting one because I had to really rack my brain around what film I was going to pick. But I picked one in the end that I think, for me, it's the first one I remember watching. And it is The Haunting. The Haunting is the one with Liam Neeson, Owen Wilson, Catherine Zeta-Jones, all these big actors at the time, and it is one of the best films that I can remember watching back in the day. Yeah, I absolutely love this movie, and there's nothing more to talk about here. Like, it is the movie that I remember watching, and I've got to rewatch it again. It is a really good film. I might even make my girlfriend watch it. She's not a horror fan, but I do think she could probably deal with this horror movie. So yeah, she is definitely watching this at some point in our relationship. Okay, so now moving on to day 26. It's October 26th, and we are going for the last horror movie that I watched. And the last horror movie that I watched is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I love this film. This was a film, like I said earlier, I believe, that I considered to put as my number one, as day one. The movie gets you in the mood for Halloween. But I decided to put Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark here instead. And yeah, it is the last film that I watched that's a horror-based movie. It's a good film. It's very different, but it's good. And I love it. And so, what more can I say about it? October 26th. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Where's the sequel, by the way? Now we're moving on to October 27, and it is the best gateway horror movie for newbies. And for me, there is only really one that works well. I say there's only really one. I had Gremlins on the list. I had Ghostbusters on the list. Goosebumps. There's options out there that have that sort of horror vibe, you know. And I could have easily have gone with something like Scooby-Doo, Zombie Island, or something like that, you know. But I didn't. I went with Beetlejuice, an absolute classic that we've just got a sequel to, and I love that sequel. But yeah, Beetlejuice is an amazing movie, and it's definitely one that's like, it's not too scary for kids, it's not too horrific. I think it's the perfect gateway into horror that you just do not have many problems with, you know, for a child or for newbies to cringe at or be like, oh, you know. There might be moments where they look away, but that's about it. So Beetlejuice is a must for October, and the fact that Beetlejuice came out and was really good, I'm happy. We got Beetlejuice back. The juice is loose. Let's keep that juice loose as well. Let's go with Beetlejuice. Let's get another one. But yeah, absolutely love it. So number 28, October 28th, and I'm not going to talk about this much because it's a little bit of a raunchy sort of thing that we've got going on here. But it is a horror movie with a favourite sex scene. Who has a favourite sex scene? That's just creepy. No. But I've chosen a horror movie where the sex scene that features is actually funny rather than hot or whatever or might have a murder in it. There are so many options you could have gone with it. Basic Instinct, for one, I considered putting on the list, but then I thought to myself, it's not really horror, it's more crime thriller. So it doesn't really fit the tone of the video that we're doing or the tone of October. I just recently rewatched that though. Brilliant movie. And boy are those sex scenes really raunchy. But I decided to go with one that makes me laugh. And it's from Hatchet 2. It's the moment where the guy's head gets chopped off and he's got a woman in front of him bent over and she's gyrating like, oh my god, this is so good. But in fact, he's dead. His head's off and he's doing the motions because he's dead, and it's just like a repulse of like shock. The body's in shock because it's lost its head kind of thing. And she fucking loves it. She really goes for it. So yeah, I decided to go for something that's a little bit more funny rather than raunchy or sexy, or one that I kind of really think about when I think of horror movies and sex, which I don't. So yeah, I went with something funny, and it is hilarious. And those films, you know, this is the only mention of Hatchet in this whole video. These films are actually really enjoyable. But anyway, number 28, Hatchet 2. So we're on to day 29 now. We are nearly at the very end. And we're going for the goriest movie you have ever seen. Now, there are so many options you could have gone with. Evil Dead, Fede Alvarez version. You could have gone with The Shining, the elevator scene. Easily one of the bloodiest and goriest. I went with something that's more shock factor to the gore, and that is Terrifier 2. That is a hard watch, gore fest wise. Like, is it the goriest that you could ever have? No. But the scenes in question, the salt. Ooh. Yeah, no. And how long that went on for as well. Like, how has she not died of shock? You know? It's crazy. So, you know, while technically not the goriest, like, you could easily put a Saw movie in there, you know, or Hostel have got a lot of gore in there. But for me, I think the shock factor for Terrifier 2 is what works with the gore, and that's why I've gone with it. Moving on to day 30, October 30th. We are one day away from October 31st, from Halloween, and before it's all over. But we're going with the best horror movie released this year. Now, this year has been a tough year for horror, let's admit. Blumhouse have released a lot of shit films. We've had a lot of just downright crap. You know, Blumhouse, what are you playing at? But the one film for me that's, you know, and it's a film that we've had twice this year that's very similar. But for me, it's The First Omen. What The First Omen did, and I've talked about this earlier on when I was talking about The Exorcist, so I won't dive too much into The First Omen now. But the reason why I chose it is because it pure and simply did something that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting it to be a good film. You know, it's a prequel to a movie that I really enjoy. I really enjoy The Omen. But this film did something that I wasn't expecting, and it was good. And you know, and I'm looking forward to rewatching it on October 30th. I plan to watch all these films that I've chosen on those days. And come what, the 20th day when I watch the one I hate. Yay! But you know, anyway, moving on. So we are now on October 31st. It is Halloween. What could I possibly choose? And it is the favourite movie to watch on Halloween. And I've cheated. I've chosen a franchise for Halloween. It's Halloween. The franchise for Halloween is Halloween. It's the only set of movies that will get me in the mood to, you know, end the Halloween season off. Yes, I could have a mad day and go Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, you know, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, which is a really good remake, by the way. But yeah, this is the way I've chosen to do it. I have cheated. I love the Halloween franchise. It is my favourite horror movie franchise. what they have done in the years, you know, there are some really bad films in the list. Rob Zombie films can fucking suck a cock. Could suck a bag of cocks on an island, a bag of cocks for all I care. Pick one, I don't care. But for me, the Rob Zombie films can fuck off. These films in this franchise are really enjoyable. Even the bad ones are really enjoyable. Halloween Resurrection is a fucking awful movie, yet, you know, we have got, what's his face, doing Kung Fu. I can't remember his name. I'll put it at the bottom. But, you know, and what they did with the recent trilogy may not have been perfect, but I really enjoyed that trilogy as well. So, this franchise is something that, you know, I aim to try and watch as many of them as I possibly can. I will probably pick favourites, like Halloween 1, 2 and 3 are definitely up there. 4 is definitely there. 5 and 6 I can leave or take. H2O is definitely there. That's close to beating my number 1, which is Halloween, the original. But yeah, and the Blumhouse trilogy is definitely on there as well, because they are all good films. You know, those are the ones that I could probably pick and choose out of them. So, you know, leaving out 5, 6. Resurrection, and the 2 Rob Zombie films. So I'm taking out 5 of them, leaving in the rest, kind of thing. But, you know, I mean, obviously I'd have to start very early in the day to watch these horror films. But yeah, I really love the Halloween franchise and think it is the best franchise in the horror realm. Purely for its just craziness that we've had over the years. So yeah, that is October 31st, over and done with, and Halloween's done. And then November starts and we get fucking Christmas songs. Yay! Anyway, that is the video for today. Yeah, we've gone through 31 days. That was an interesting one. This should be quite a long video. This is going to be quite a long edit. I am filming this at 10 to 3. Or I'm just finishing filming it at 10 to 3 on October 1st. And I want to get it out on October 1st. The editing job is going to be crazy for me. I'm going to get on that right now. So yeah, I thank you all for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. This is something that, you know, I think I'm going to keep up doing this. You know, maybe start working on the 31 films I'm going to work on next year. But yeah, this is definitely something that you should check out yourself. If you want to know where I got this from, this was not something I didn't pick what I did each day. This is something from @RealCinephilia. Cinephilia? It's at the bottom right now. Check it out. Do your own list. Send it me. You know, do it any way you want. You can do it photographically. You could just say what you'd watch in particular days. What you think of my opinions. My opinions. It's not your opinion. It's my opinion. That is the way it is. Okay. So I cannot technically be wrong because it's how I feel and what I feel about these films and what I think about these films. But anyway, that's my video for today. You will get another video at some point in the week. I know it's weird to start up this video thing on a Tuesday, but 1st of October has started on a Tuesday. You will get another video this week at some point. Unsure what it is at the moment. It will be horror themed. But yeah, we will be doing another video this week. Hopefully, I'm hoping Thursday or Friday is possibly the day you'll get that. And hopefully I can get this out today, tonight. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all soon. Like, comment, subscribe on the channel and the videos. Do whatever it is you can to support me. That is fine. I appreciate every single one of you that has watched this today. I've been Scrivo. This has been Scrivo Sphere. I'll see you next time, folks.